Okay, welcome to the GIMP tutorial. Today, we're gonna be how to learning how to paint on a new canvas using 3 different paintbrushes. We're also gonna show you some other things like move, select, scale and rotate, flip, and some other stuff. First of all, first part, how to create a new canvas. You can do File, New. This is the width and height. You can set this to whatever you want. I'm going to set this to be a square. There. We also have advanced options right here, which if you're not, which you may, may be what you want to use if you want to use it, but you may not, and that's completely fine. The main thing that you want to use is width and height. This is like pixels, inches, millimeters, points. We're gonna use pixels since those are the easiest things to count. Sorry about that. So here, as soon as we create a new canvas, we're gonna have a background appear. Now, this background is actually a layer. A layer is a part of an art canvas. So you can create a layer by pressing this button. You can select the name, you can change the name, you can change the color tag if you want to have it tagged with different colors, that way you know. You can fill with transparency or one of these other things, but we're going to keep it with transparency. You can adjust the width and the height, but we're just going to keep it the same. Opacity, we're just going to keep it the same, and we're going to call this layer. Very interesting name. Now this background is also a layer. With this button, we can make the layer visible or not visible. You can also press this button right here to delete the layer. Over here you have opacity, which can be helpful for, well, making it slightly transparent, only slightly visible, And over here is the mode. You can choose the mode. There's lighten, screen, dodge, addition. If you keep it at normal, then I know we're bringing back the BG. Now let's say we set the background to that. This is the paint bucket, as it also mentioned. We got foreground and background color fill. Which foreground color fill chooses this color. This is the foreground. This is the background color. You can switch between them like that. You can click on a foreground or background to change its color. Threshold, which is how sensitive the paint bucket is. If it has a high threshold, it may bleed out onto other areas. If it has a low threshold, it's less likely to bleed out. But it's also less likely to get the edge as well. So, yes. Here we have the paintbrush tool. Now if we go to this layer, we can adjust the size, aspect ratio. So here's the size that we have right now. You can press to undo something like this. You can press edit, undo paintbrush right here, or you can press Control plus C. C as in zebra. If you do Now you can also do Control C, C as in crap. Or you can also click this button and it'll copy it and would say, oh no, or something. You can paste it in place, and once you paste something, you can either delete it, meaning get rid of the pasted thing, click this button, which will create a new layer, and that pasted layer and that pasted part will go onto that layer. Or you can click the anchor button, which anchor, well, if you press anchor, the pasted thing will go on to this layer right below it. So it would go onto layer. We're gonna do this. Another thing we can also do is make another layer. Wow, you can make more than one layer. You can draw. You can also erase. Control C to undo. But also this button right here. Merge this layer with the first visible layer below it. Click on that, and now the two layers have merged together. You can also press this button, which will duplicate the layer. You can press up the up or down arrow to move it up or down, like in the layers category. And one of my favorite things to do, layer groups. You press this button to create a layer group. You can click on it, double click on it to change the name and that kind of stuff, you know. You can also hold on the layer and then you can drag it onto a layer group or onto below the background into the layer group. And then you can do this. You can minimize and maximize it. Let's say we have two layers in the same group. We're gonna do pimple. I don't know why. Look, that's totally. You can press this button to hide all the things inside that layer group, and you can, instead of having to manually do that. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, another thing we can do is we can use a paintbrush or a pencil. Now let's get to know the difference between the two. So we're going to set the size of this to be, the size of our brush to be 1. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call this a book. Now this can leave like a little splurge, but you can also change to pencil, and it will snap to the grid, and it will just place a single dot like that instead of splurging it like the paintbrush, like that. So that is important to know. You can save changes and discard them. Final thing we're going to do today before saving and exporting is we're going to do the airbrush. Actually, we need to do move, rotate, and scale, but you know. Next thing we can do, we're going to create a new layer. This is the airbrush. Oh, wait, hold on. We make the brush size bigger, and you can, well, yeah, it makes darkens. It's like a darkener. It's like a little spray, you know. This is an airbrush, a spray brush, air spray, airbrush. You can adjust the opacity of the airbrush right here with opacity. So the higher the opacity, the stronger the shading is. Next thing is the move. Now, move the active layer, or pick a layer group to, move. Personally, what's the difference between these two? So let's say we have layer 1 here and layer 2. Layer 2 is the singular dot, and layer 1 is these two other dots. So if we do this, we select the layer group and we do bottom 1, which is move the active layer, it moves the whole layer group. Control C. Or we can switch it to this one, and then, it grabs the background. Or we move it to one of these dots. It moves only that dot specifically. I usually like to use this only as let's open a recent thing, Let's open this. Okay. So gotta find we can close tab. This is the layers tab. If we do this, then it will separately grab this part of the thing. But if we do this, it'll grab what it's currently selected when it comes to layers. Thank you for being my test subject, Scarfy. Another thing we can do is rotate. Clipping adjust. We're gonna have normal on. There's a few things you can do. You can do layer, selection, path, and image. Image moves everything on the canvas, and layer moves the only selected layer. These other two things we will get into another time when we learn about selection, and whenever I figure out what guides are, because I have no idea, honestly. I don't ever use them, so it's probably not important anyway. Another thing we can do, hold down on the rotate button tool thing. You can switch to scale. I have a menu. We have normal, clipping is adjust, and we're gonna do the layer. This thing in the middle, you move it, it moves a layer. But if you do pull this, then you can like that. Now we can do it like this. Now this little chain thing right here, if we lock it, it will say to the X and Y ratio. If we unlock it, it will just freeform however you want it to, So that's important. Don't forget that. And last thing is flip tool, which is very easy to understand. You choose horizontal or vertical, press the button, and well, there it is. And Oh, and finally, color picker. Let's say we have a color like red. We can choose a layer. We can use the color picker. We can choose pick target, set foreground color. So whatever color you pick, it will set our foreground color to that color, and then we can click on place a certain part of that layer, and we'll get that color. One thing to mention though is if it's only on that layer. So if you try to do this on the background layer, it still stays blue. But if we do it on this layer, then suddenly it's black, because it actually read from that layer. And now we make it to the final part. You got the save button. which I don't think you can actually see the menu thing. So I'm just gonna quickly there. Saving an image will save it as an .xcf, which will save it as multiple layers or as a GIMP project. We're gonna call it untitled.xcf. I know, very interesting name. Export, and then export is different. It will export it as a PNG. So if we do this, export, it will export it as a PNG. And now we have the XCF and the PNG. The PNG is the image, and the XCF is the layers, and the actual thing. So that's very important to know. Okay, that's it. That's it for part 1 of GIMP learning tutorial. Signing out. Yeah.